So, you're thinking about playing Pixel Quest. Don't know what to do. Why is this such a complicated game? I promise you this is not a complicated game, but it is a hardcore permadeath game. I figured today I'll be making a full guide on the entire Pixel Quest game. But before we end up getting started, hi, I do a lot of things now. You guys should definitely like the video as it does help me come out with more content like this for you guys. And let's go ahead and get started with today's video. Alrighty, so we're gonna go over a couple of things before we actually go out into the overworld. For starters, I know I said this in my first video I did on Pixel Quest, is you have two sections which are very important. You have your Perlock Vault and you have your gift box section. Anything that you would find really important or just copies, clones of anything that you have within the game, immediately throw it inside of the vault. If you're not using it, put it away. Unironically, all of the stuff that we've been getting throughout the entire Halloween event, I've actually just left inside of here because it kind of utilizes itself as a storage. So unless I want to go ahead and take it out, I just leave it in here. But remember, the second that you do take something out, you cannot put it back in. So that's the only thing. As you're slowly leveling up, I would really suggest, if you haven't already done so already, pay attention to this one little section down here on your hotbar. This is going to be everything that is going to be extremely vital to your build. Unfortunately, I cannot give advice for builds as I play a certain way that is completely different from other people. Right now, I'm doing a little bit of experimenting on builds right now, so what I'm actually doing is a glass cannon. This might not be for everybody. If you don't want to constantly die in places, then this is definitely not something that you should do. Glass cannons to me are a little bit more fun and exhilarating, fun and exciting, and like, it doesn't make sense, but it makes sense to me, right? And obviously, as you're playing the game, there is something called achievements. These are really important, especially if you're trying to get more things within the game, as well as weapon damage increasing. So for the time played, let's go ahead and claim one. I'm gonna go ahead and get 50 Valor and 1 Honor. Traveler, let's go ahead and claim this one, 100 Valor and 1 Honor. There is a tremendous amount of everything that you could think of inside of this entire achievement section. So yes, this is going to take some time to go ahead and complete out. But of course, over time, if you see all of the percentages and everything, this is definitely worthwhile, especially if you're using a specific weapon or if you want to be a completionist and pretty much clear it all out. So I have 4 weapons on me right now. Unfortunately, I don't have my curl staff on me, but let's talk about this for 1 second. When you pick up an item, I want you guys to kind of read the tiles. So this is how far your range will be. Now, of course, if you already know about all this stuff, then clearly you can go ahead and skip into the next section. So a 6 tile range, you're probably looking around this much space between you and an enemy. Now, 6 tiles is nice, but some weapons actually go up to 10 tiles. Our basic hunting bow, which goes all the way up to 8, brings you about here. I like that much space. I like 10 spaces more preferably. I get that with the T4 staff, but this one gives you 8. This legendary putrid knife gives you 6 tiles. So let's go ahead and auto fire and just kind of get an idea of how far we can go ahead and be. All right, so more or less, you could pretty much get this much space between you and an enemy. But what about a sword? All right, well, let's go ahead and get a little closer. So you could probably get this much space between you and an enemy. So this is more or less a close range. Now that we kind of went through some of the weapons and some of the range, what about the wearables that you could go ahead and use here? Relics, armor, accessories. Right now, I am using a worn crown. I do have to get something way better than this one, but I could get a 4+ attack on any of my weapons, which is really beneficial. 2, I use a floor mantle, which is amazing for armor. Of course, there is some out there that might be better, but right now this is all I have. In the little section over here, which I like to call relics, you have the decision to go ahead and use a healing item or a weapon assistant. This heals you, though you do need some mana for it. Each time that I use this, it actually takes 70, so I could only use this a few times before I have to use a mana potion. If I were to switch this out for the toxic fluid, this actually throws a nice projectile, which can go pretty far, however far you want it to go. But on top of it, I also get 8 dexterity and 5 speed. died. So we are almost done in Haven, I promise. So we have something called Valor. The more that you end up dying, you end up getting Valor. Or if you end up doing the achievements, all of the Valor that you could save up, you could actually use to buy skins or a badge or anything that you want to go ahead and use, such as skips, so you don't have to do the same quests over and over and over again, which really do help out in the long run, especially if you keep struggling inside of the overworld. 2, you have a shop over here which you can go ahead and pretty much buy anything that you want to buy with Robux. Then you have the Gauntlet. The Gauntlet is probably the funnest thing right now when it does happen, such as like an event, an admin abuse, stuff like that. But you have to be very well prepared for this, otherwise you're not going to be able to make it to the very end of the waves. And then finally, you have your quest system. Pay attention to this as much as possible because this is where you end up getting additional stat points, which will help you with your build. On top of it, you clearly get experience points, stuff like that. Honestly, the sooner that you could do this, the better. That way you don't have to worry about it. Otherwise, if you're just kind of like speed running the entire game all the way up to level 50, then sure, you could go ahead and do this with a breeze after you hit level 50 or once you're a high enough level. I'm kind of doing this at my own pace. Eventually, I will clear this out, but those additional stat points will help you in the long run. Finally, we are in Haven. Yes, something did end up happening. I accidentally died. I wasn't paying attention, and my main character that I started from the release of the game to pretty much a few days ago ended up dying to Frankenstein, and here I am now. I have to start all over again. So we're gonna go ahead and speed this portion up. This is the beach section. This is the very beginning of the entire world. This is the starter section, more or less. You're pretty much gonna grind here until you're around level 10 or so. You could start doing bosses around that level as well by yourself. If you want to feel more comfortable, you can actually do this with players, so that way it's a little bit easier for you and the others. If you're able to do the mermaid boss, I would definitely suggest doing so. The coral staff can carry you up to a certain degree, especially for a weapon. That's what I'm currently using right now, and to be honest, it's my favorite weapon for the starter areas. Once you reach that comfortable level that you feel confident to move upwards, this is what I would like to call the Woodland section. This is where you could go ahead and try to grind for the Heroic Mantle, and I believe the Fire Claymore and a couple of other legendaries that I don't remember right off of the top of my head. You're gonna kind of stay here until you reach level 20 or so. Of course, you guys can move at your own pace. If you want to move up once you hit level 15, level 16, by all means do so. You're gonna do the quests and you're gonna repeat the next process all over again in the new area. Now that you've reached level 20 or so, you're gonna move upwards once more. Now this is where it starts to kind of mold with the stats that you currently chosen for your build. You're gonna notice a lot of stuff hitting you, and it's going to hurt for a second. You're gonna have to really come up with a strategy for yourself in this area, especially for the bosses as well. Weapons, armor, stuff like that is going to start feeling a little obsolete now that you're in here. And it's gonna even feel worse when you move up into the next section. So grinding for better weapons and better armor is definitely key at this point. But you're still gonna go ahead and grind here no matter what. And I would suggest at least getting to level 25 to level 30 before you move up into the next zone. Okay, now welcome to the desert area. This is kind of where everything is starting to go into place. Your stats, your build, your weapons, your armor, everything. This is where you're theoretically going to stay for quite some time before you enter in the last zone. As always, this is where you are going to grind for better things, such as legendary, stuff like that, but definitely this is where you are going to stay for tier 4. Whether that goes for weapons, armors, whatever it is that you can go ahead and think of. This is where most of your stuff is going to mostly matter when it comes to the next zone. Now, welcome to the final zone for right now. Originally, I was in this area at level 40 and I was doing somewhat okay. If you're coming here at a low level such as I am right now, I would definitely stay away from the mini bosses, mostly because they will hit you and you will notice your health go down almost immediately. By now, you should absolutely have as much of the quests already done and completed out. All of this stuff is really going to matter at this point in time, and hopefully you guys already have like all the weapons that you want and need need, and same goes with the relics, armor, everything that you can think of. You're gonna chill here until you hit the maximum level, which I believe right now is level 50. You guys can correct me if I am wrong. I ended up dying at level 44 at Frankenstein, so I never really got to finish that and see how high we can go. The nice thing, and this might not be nice to everybody, but your first playthrough is probably not going to be your real playthrough, if that makes sense, right? I would like to say it's like your trial and error playthrough. What works for you, how your stats are looking, all your accessory stuff like that. If you mess up and you end up dying, then you can go ahead and look back at what you did and make it better. Or unless you have multiple accounts that you could go ahead and actually test this out on, then that's a different story, right? But if you end up dying at a very high level, then yes, this is something that you can go ahead and look back on and make it better. This is what I'm currently doing right now, and yes, I'm still going ahead and kind of messing around with the stats and everything. But at the very end of the day, however you choose to play the game, that's how you're going to choose to play the game. Remember, this is a permadeath game, so if you end up dying by some random NPC, if you decide to go into the snow area at a very low level, you will lose everything, which is why it's really important to go to the Perlock Vault, save everything that you get, and if you're going to go ahead and risk yourself, just go there with like low tier stuff that you're not going to miss. Don't get attached to your items, otherwise you're going to get mad when you do die. And that's pretty much it for today. Hopefully this gives you a better understanding of like how the game works and what you should pay attention to. I'll probably have a guide later on different builds that I'm choosing to do. I do have some more vouchers for like testing like character slots and everything. I'm gonna have to end up getting more so I could go ahead and test out builds. The building aspect is fun, and everybody seems to be going after a glass cannon right now, which may not be the smartest, especially if you're playing like aggressively, but we'll see at the very end of the day. Until then, as always, make sure you guys do like the video, as it does help me come out with more content like this for you guys, and I will see you all later. Okay, bye!